I feel like a lot of times people don't even understand that they're not taking what they should from a lot of situations. Like there is good and bad in virtually everything. It is a matter of what you are doing with the energy after you receive it. What are you doing with the lesson after you receive it, right? Like, are we leaving things better than the way that we found them?
To be back here with you guys on Eluminate, and today we have Miss Jerica, known as Jerica Speaks. I am so excited because it's so funny. Jerica came across my feed right before 2024 ended, and it was actually it was on my 40th birthday I found you, actually. So that was ironic.
I love that.
Yeah, so I happened to be doing my thing, get on Instagram to go answer a couple DMs, and bam, there's your video.
Everything that people are saying about white women is true. It's 100% true. And I'm going to tell you, as a millennial white woman who has completely walked away from everything that she has known in her white supremacy based fucking piss ass families, it's true. It's true. White women are the fucking problem. They embolden the problem. They marry the problem. They birth the problem. They're lazy as fuck, and they play victim about the goddamn problems that they're participating in. I don't know one happy white woman in one of my families. I only know white women that are either alone because men fucked them over and ruined their goddamn livelihoods and drove them insane, or they settled because they wanted their fucking retirements and they decided, hey, I might as well let this fucking pissant live next to me. White women and families that have watched their fucking husbands treat them like shit, beat on them, cheat on them, everything, but they still staying with them, laid down like a doormat. They'll be sitting at all these family picnics talking shit about these men, talking about how much they fucking hate them, how they're losers, how they got shit stains in their pants, but they stayed married to them and they still fucking voted to embolden them. White women will sell out their daughters, sell out their children. They will quite literally do anything as long as they get picked. As long as they're not the ones getting beat on. Because what do we know about toxic-ass white families? Pathetic, shitty, white supremacy-based fucking toxic-ass white families? Let me tell you about those families. When they're not going after gay people, when they're not going after black people, when they're not going after marginalized groups and poor people, they're beating the fucking shit out of white girls in the family. Especially if you're a free thinker. God forbid you're pretty, okay? Or got a brain. Oh my God, you're getting your ass fucking beat down. And so what happens to those white women? They either find their way in the family so that they can at least be accepted and have love and support, whatever the fuck that looks like, or they leave, like me, and they get demonized and chastised for it. This is white supremacy. Everything these fucking people are saying is true. I've watched white women in my family show up for my crackhead cousin who's been to jail a dozen times and put money on her books and celebrate her because she's selling herself short and being a fucking nobody. When I graduated college, not one of my fucking aunts or mothers or any of those things was there to support me. Nah. You wanna know why? Because they didn't like it when I got smarter and I got more intelligent and I could empower myself. Because white women are just a tool for abusive white men to stay in power.
But I love your energy out the gate, because it was no nonsense. And I know what I'm saying is hard, but I'm still gonna say it, because it's a conversation that needs to be had. And it just hooked me, and I was there. And I'm so glad that I took the time to find you, because as you was talking, I was like, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Girl, yes, I'm set and held space with people. These people, I feel you, I get it, and I see it so much in every culture. It might look different, it might sound different, but good God, let's talk about the intersections and how we break this as not just humans, but women, and set ourselves and men up for success, So I was so glad that you came back and was like, hey, when I messaged you. But I just want you to, I do want to talk a little bit, because I love the fact that you're a deconstructionist like myself. You're about the deeper conversations. So share a little bit about your journey, where it started. How did you become a deconstructionist?
Well, I think it really just has to do with my complex PTSD, and kind of like trying to navigate growing up while raising a daughter in poverty, and then also having an autistic son shortly after. And then I realized like my whole existence was just motherhood. And it was like a very low frequency of motherhood. And I was kind of like riddled with this like internal, like just knowing that like none of this really makes sense. Like I know that like I'm supposed to love and yearn for motherhood. And I know that like my mother failed me. She was a heroin addict like my whole life, right? And I say failed, but I show her a lot of grace in the fact that like I understand how she got to where she is, but I also honor the fact that like my life should have been better and she should have honored me more as a daughter, right? And I watched through my grandmother, who passed away during COVID, which was like a kickoff to my spiritual awakening, really come to terms like the last 2 years of her life with like acknowledging her shadow self. And it gave her so much peace. And we got so close at like a level of closeness that I genuinely can't put into words, but it is something like synergistic. And I also share this same very tight bond with my autistic son in specific moments. It's like a synergy, you know? And it made me want to heal for them, you know? And it made me like want to pick up kind of like the baggage that they left me with and like just say like, I get it. But like I need to rage for a minute. Like, you know, my inner child, she's a tough cookie, but she was like a little lover and she loved to run around barefoot. Teenage Jerica was a bitch. She was something else trying to heal, and that's where I got caught up the most. And we don't even talk about healing those temperamental versions of ourselves. And right now I'm kind of like living a lot in like the romantic kind of lost whimsical era of what I wanted to have at 17 that I lost to sleeping in a car and a teenage pregnancy and getting kicked out by my dad and his wife, my stepmom. So, you know, all of these things kind of played a role. I'm also like a sexual assault survivor. Lots of domestic violence I went through. And that was like chosenly because like I didn't know my worth or my value, you know. And by the time I had my third child at 27, I was just, and I was old enough to know better. And it was with someone who, you know, wasn't physically abusive that time, but mentally and financially like manipulative. I was just kind of like, I know that this isn't it either. So
you knew what you didn't want. You had compiled that list and was really checking in with it, weren't you?
And what I realized after I had Lincoln was there was this feeling each and every single time I had a child. And the first time it scared me the most. I was so like full like this all the time. And I was just like, how do I take care of this baby that I love so much? That was love. That was me being filled up with so much unconditional love I didn't even know what to do with because I had never received it like that. And I just like had it and I was holding it and touching it and feeling it outside of my body after growing it for so long, right? And then I did it again with my autistic son. Those same moments, but that time I didn't get postpartum. Why? Because I learned what it was. I learned what those emotions were, so I knew what to do that second time. And then he was autistic and he was like really off the chain, right?
Right.
And I had Lincoln and suddenly I was a little bit more mature and I was in an awful situation, probably worse than any of the others. But I was like, I am actually leaving this motherfucker. And I'm going to tell you, from there, I kind of just kept growing and growing and growing. And one of my biggest ailments was staying in a family like setup and group that is just rooted in like suffering and battering other people. And I hated that. And I was like, actually, me really accepting all of this from them, even though it goes against everything that I morally and ethically am, is costing me my aura. Like it is costing me feeling like connected to these people because the only way I connect with those people is through like this very low frequency.
And that's not connection.
No,
once you start coming online to all those feelings and things and understanding,
incredible.
You realize you're like, that's not even totally a connection, but that's what I was given. So I thought it was connection until I learned better. So, oh my gosh.
And I was just kind of like, no, I'm going to start deconstructing all of this because I am like, my nervous system is gross. And I didn't know if I was like, when I would get like anxiety, sometimes I was like, okay, so am I excited or like, am I about to pass the fuck out, right?
Ooh.
Then eventually I started getting like stress seizures occasionally. And I was just like, you know what? Humans are not supposed to experience this. And I have the gift of like telepathy. I'm very telepathic. Took me a long time to admit that, right? Because people want to call you schizophrenic. I'm very clairaudient. I'm also very clairsentient. And I'm claircognizant, but I have a lot less control over that one. I think the only thing that I don't have is like full-blown, full spectrum clairvoyancy. But because I have like a good hell of a stack up of like pattern recognition skills from complex PTSD, and my intuition is just like something incredible. My grandmother gifted me with like the gift to speak and like prayer. And she embodied it while she was alive throughout all of her flaws. And so it's kind of given me this ability. And I am very disciplined. So like, even though there is a great raging, lustful, addict that rages in me sometimes, because I have addicts on every side, I've kind of like transmuted her into something very gentle. Sometimes I work in my shadow, like when I'm deconstructing, like you really have to confront your ancestry with a level of brutality that it was established in. And
Ooh.
I believe in that. And I get that a lot from, I don't know if you know who like Jasmine Gardens is.
Yeah.
She's on TikTok, she's on IG. When I tell you that woman, to me, she's like a prophet. Like she's a goddess prophet, like reincarnate something.
She is.
And when I talk about her, like I have goosebumps all over my legs, my arms, my chest, like my hair is like, she's a powerful source. And she has given me more ego deaths single-handedly. Yeah, and I'm talking like they will slap you.
Yeah.
To the point where you will be like, and it was one in particular that I was like, oh, why am I the white woman that's mad right now?
3 things I think white people need to know before they start a spiritual journey. Number 1, your racist ass ancestors are still racist. Just because they're dead does not mean they are good people now. And this is not just to berate y'all, but this is more so to help y'all, because some of y'all may be wondering why you're not getting any answers or any responses, because you keep trying to consult a Puritan because you believe you're the daughter of a witch that didn't fucking burn, when in actuality you're the descendants of the motherfuckers that burned the witches. And I really want y'all to understand that, because y'all be booking me and y'all be looking so fucking confused like, Jasmine, why do my ancestors not want to work with me? You wear all black, you have Hecate around your neck, you have face piercings, and you're gay. Just, they're scared. Number 2, you were not black in a past life, nor do you have access to the ancestors that you believe were black. You're white. You're white, and I think it's really funny that white people only want to integrate when it comes to spirituality, because it's the only way y'all can gain access to some shit that's not yours, is to pretend that it belonged to all of us. Now y'all want to share. And last but not least, to the white women that are working with the Norse gods, there are so many gods within the pantheon. I need y'all to stop choosing Loki, Thor, Odin, Frey, the gods of the Aesir, which are known to be violent, because a lot of your gods are stolen gods, which means the concepts of your gods are egregore. They're ideas that have energy invested until they came to life, like Santa Claus. With that being said, think about the type of men who invested energy into these gods. They raped and they pillaged for fun. So y'all be calling on Loki, you feel connected to Thor, Odin, and Frey for what? I know a white woman's gonna be like, but Frey was actually the god of peace. He was also the god of good fortune, so they would leave sacrifices in his name to help them when they went raiding. And for them, it wasn't just about the livestock or the land or even the potential of jewels that they might obtain. It was also about the people, the slaves, more often than not, the women that they would rape. So let's not act like the Christian God is the only one that makes space in their loving nature for bullshit.
And I had to sit with it for a second, right?
You know, you're right.
She said in there, like, how are you going to start connecting with your ancestors and working with your ancestors that did like damage to my ancestors, and then expect to honor their practices? Like, she had said something like that, like, before you
and
ever
you know what's
think,
funny? It's funny that's the one you brought up, because as soon as you started talking this, that was the video that popped in my head, because people want to call on their family or their ancestors, but here's the problem: you don't want to be honest about who that person really was, because see, all your ancestors ain't good people. The way they lived is how they died, and that's where they are at, that's where they are stuck, that's where they are operating from, the same place they was operating from in the physical. So until you're ready to get honest about who your ancestor was, you don't know who you're calling on. For all you know, you calling on the rapist, and and wondering why your life is in hell and shambles. Well, because at night you're asleep, but you done ask this ancestor to come hang out with you, who ain't never been good for nobody.
Yeah, and a menace, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like all this love and light that you're trying to do, you're going to bring the darkest part of your ancestry into the love and light.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, yes, you have to transmute it, but I'm also a witch. I'm a practicing witch. So what I learned is that you can take sacrifices that have been made in the name of, you know, colonizers and brutality, and if you know your witchery well enough, you can transmute that into sacrifices for now we're transmuting that to good through people like me. But you have to be like a force field of a practitioner and someone who is willing to like really stick with it, because it's a very slippery slope into like psychosis and other things. Like, you have to know your limits, and you have to have a lot of self-assurance. You have to know like where you're guided from.
You have to start from a grounded place. You can't start from, I'm over here, or I'm gonna be over here. You really have to be ready to deconstruct if that's what you're gonna do. Because, you know, every time, where I live here in Philly, there's always somewhere, either inside a building or outside, you see those scaffoldings. You know, these tall buildings when they're when they have work done to them, they build the scaffoldings. And I think of all the times when people say things like, I'm tired of starting over. And I just think, but every day you go to work and deconstruct and you don't complain. You deconstruct, you take apart the same damn things and put them back together and you don't complain. But you complain because it's life. You think your life is never going to be deconstructed. Afraid. Exactly. They're afraid of what they're going to find, or what truth they're going to have to let go of, you know? And for me, I love challenges. Like, I've always loved puzzles, even as a child. So I know that, and my grandmother, we've talked a little bit about this, our grandmothers were a big part of our awakenings and calling ins and sitting with things. And it was always, for me, deconstructing it didn't bother me. It bothered me that others can't do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I always would look around and like, I was raised, you know, by Christian, Catholics, strict, like, ideologies. And they were always like, do good unto others. And you're not this, and you can't be this. Meanwhile, they're dropping the N-word, all the things. Oh, I'm sending thumbs ups.
You're good.
But, you know, and I would be like, I feel like these might be some liars, you know? And then I realized, like, everyone's a good liar. Exactly. Everybody, in fact, and if you're a real good liar, you're at least freaking honest about it, because then it holds you accountable, right? And what do I also know? I have a cousin and a biological mother and one of my sisters. All three of them, I would absolutely say, are pathological, like habitual liars, because they have no idea who they are.
Yep. That was my mother. My birth mother. She like, if her mouth was open, the joke was, if Pam's mouth is moving, she's lying.
Yeah.
only time she's telling the truth is when she's asleep. She's not speaking.
And it used to, and I just used to be like,
and they would lie about the dumbest shit. Have you ever noticed that? You'd be like, is it cold out? They'd be like, you'd be like, is it cold out? No, it's like 97 degrees. Well, bitch, as soon as I step outside, I'm gonna know it's -15. So like, why must we lie about dumb shit? Like, but it just never ceased to amaze me. Like, they must have been related.
Yeah, no, well, clearly, you know, and it's one of those things where I also kind of like, it's not even like it made me like them any less, you know? And that's it's like, I will love you through that. Like, I'll love you through your lying ass.
But I love you.
But I love you.
I love you, but I also don't want to deal with you.
Right. But now it got to the point where it was like, okay, you're a liar and you frequent in betrayal. And what I've learned is that when you like something, or you love something, or you're committed to something, you show up for them great, even in your lies. But when you show up for me, it's with conditions and limitations and battering and all of these things. So there's a lot of duality in deconstructing for me, because like, I grew up the first like 8-9 years of my life in like poverty, and there was a lot of drugs and just a really rough lifestyle. It was tough, you know? And then my dad left my biological mom, took me, and like, we weren't talking about it. We couldn't, because she was, a drug addict to the point where like our whole lives were going down the toilet. It was rough. So my dad left. He couldn't get my sisters because he was not their biological father, and he was lazy, like most men from that era of, he got praised for being a single dad, of course, had a good lawyer, My mom didn't go to any of the things, so he got me. He married like a really mean Catholic woman, like a couple years later, but there was no break. Like, he was just from her to her.
Wow.
And then I lived a very, like, my foundation was excellent from, regular. I lived in a trailer park, but I had a good upbringing as far as like financial. We were middle class, regular middle class. All my needs were met financially, that type of stuff. So that was totally different. Well, what I ended up learning from these two things is these people who were doing much better than any of those people were also the people who like emotionally and mentally tormented me the very most.
Right.
And then
it wasn't physical.
Right. And then use that little bit of stability and monetary value to really restrict the conditions of their love. Mm-hmm. Right. And my freedoms and all of those things. And so it made me resentful and spiteful. So everything I did from like a teen on, I was doing it from this source of like spite and vengeance. And she's hellfire.
She's
not
necessary.
Even supposed to be here. I'm not even supposed to be here statistically. And I'm so glad I have been every version of me.
See, that's
what deconstruction should do. You should be able to look at every part of you and be like, and I love the fuck out of you anyways, and then build it back up. And that's what I just started. I found you, and I look at you as part of my I'm building back, so I can now start, I deconstructed, right?
Yeah.
And
so now you're putting the pieces back that are foundational pieces, not what I like to call we're being held together by putty and paste.
Yeah.
every few months somebody had to come by and slap something else on a crack that they created. Hey, I'm also gonna try to fix it even though I don't know how to fix it. So yeah, but you said something phenomenal. I looked back on every version of myself and I love her. I love them all. And as you really do shadow work, you come to understand you aren't a whole person until you accept all of you and understand what that looks like in the light when it's being used. Because guess what? Vengeful, spiteful, you has a place even now. There's a time for her even now, especially in the world we live in. But how you go about using her, it's going to look different in this stage of the game versus when you first used it, because you only knew about it from its lowest vibrational state. Because what was coming at you when you had to lock into it, well, you were already here. I was already there when I was that, right? So yeah.
And frequency is so universally real, especially and I know this because I'm an energy worker, and I swear to you, if more, and I say this because I believe white people are the very most desensitized, because the oppressive planet that we have, and in this dynasty in particular, under the patriarch that it is, and the racial hierarchy that it is, and the classism that it is, it really has desensitized white people the very most generationally, because they have benefited from all of those structures in some way. But now there is more poverty amongst white people than ever before. And that is the ultimate way to control people in a system built on everything as a dollar and dollar sign in front of it, right?
A system based on false energy exchange. Because that's all money is. Money is an energy. It's a medium. It's a physical representation of energy. But, when people money, that's always been a big one for me. Because every year since I went viral back in 2019 and then again in 2020, I make sure I put this post up at some point, and it just says, money doesn't make the world go round, and it never fails. There's about 30 somebodies that jump in the comment section, losing their shit. Without money, we would be. I said, hey, when you got up this morning, got ready, brushed your teeth, got in your car and drove however far it was, or got on that train when you weren't getting paid, but to go to that job that you then were getting paid, what were you doing from the moment you woke up? Using energy. So technically you made the world fucking go around, because your money won't be in your bank account to the 15th or the 30th if you work for the government. I was like, and if you work for an employer, it's either coming every 2 weeks, and some of y'all are lucky you got employers that pay you every week. I was like, and now with digital age, well, sometimes you can do what's called instant pay, but you gonna pay a fee for that instant pay anyways. I was like,
Yes.
so again, remind me how money made the fucking world go round. I said, because I got 100 on my table that, guess what, it's been there for 2 weeks and it ain't done shit.
It's actually human capital. Like, if people would like learn the value of human capital, because like at the end of the day, everything is a social construct anyway. So it's like, yeah,
Thank you.
money does not make the world go around, but it certainly helps you live a better quality of life. Let's have that conversation, right? And
Thank
so,
you.
like, for
It's a
me,
tool.
exactly.
It's like a hammer. You could build a house without a hammer, but it's gonna go better with one, I bet.
Yeah, and you know, that's also why, like, in a racial hierarchy and all of these things, like, it's constructed and manufactured struggle. That's why the racial hierarchy has been so imperative against some of the most vibrant sources that I have ever been attached to. And so these were big moments for me. Like, I noticed Black women, above all things else, have a presence in their spirit that moves, and I can't, it hits you with a force, and it's every single Black woman I have ever had the pleasure and privilege of connecting with on a spiritual level. And so I say these things, and then there's always like some like really insecure witch who is like in training and should be listening and paying attention, who's like, well, that's not really fair because like I thought, like, I don't see color. I do see color because I love it. And I want to appreciate it. And it comes with a vibrancy. And let me tell you something, it's cultural and it's all of these other things. And if you would literally deconstruct it and then bring it back up, you would realize none of it matters and all of it matters. And if you liked yourself more, you wouldn't be upset that I told you a Black woman brought me back to life after white women killed me here. Like, I don't know how to explain, like, if you're not showing gratitude to the things that are watering you,
Ooh, come on with
you're
it.
gonna continue to dry out. These women are just exhausted, but they're mad at the wrong people. Like, I'm exhausted too, you know,
Right?
but like, I'm not yelling at you on the internet to ruin your day. I am aggressively like hyper verbalizing a historical archival statistical fact so you can fucking grow your brain. And I just need you to set your cognitive dissonance aside for 2 seconds and listen to me. Because usually I get somewhere. And then what I do is I say, hey, I got a couple like Black content creators that I want you to go follow real quick. And like, yeah, Sunny Day Jones on TikTok, she's one of them. Like Jasmine's Garden, she's another one. Like, I send them off because I'm like, I want you to learn from me, but you really need to learn from these ones.
Go
first.
dive.
Why?
Go dive.
Yeah. So like when I saw you message me, and I get like hundreds of messages, like you have a vibrancy, like, and I just immediately felt it and I trusted it. And I kind of just roll with my intuition because it's sharp. And I don't know anybody else doing what I'm doing, you know?
And
so I was like, oh, if she was drawn to me, then that's probably greatness.
no, we found each other for deeper reasons than this one episode. I knew that from the moment, but
Oh, for sure. We're gonna
gotta
be
start
doing some
somewhere,
work
right?
together. Yes, we're gonna do some work together. I'm excited. But yeah, super grateful for you. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
bringing me
being
on.
here. Thank you so much for taking your time and being here. All right, guys, you know exactly where to find me. Always right here on YouTube, Jerica Parrótt. These are the times. If you haven't already done so, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. And I will see you on the next episode of Eluminate.